diverse. We have a very diverse audience. So herewith, I would say, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thank you for joining this call. In fact, this is a call in a series of very successful calls we've already organized around IBM Cloud Packs, which is really the focus of IBM within their hybrid multi-cloud strategy. We had already around this topic, we had some 6 months ago already the pleasure to have Yannis, who presented his view on IBM Cloud Pack for automation. But that was 6 months ago, and as we all know, within that time frame, a lot can happen. And now we are talking about not anymore IBM Cloud Pack for automation, but IBM Cloud Pack for business automation. And that is what Yannis will tell us all about, what is new, what is hot. So we have again the pleasure to have Yannis, who is IBM Business Automation Strategic Segment Leader within this call. Now, during this call, we will put all participants on mute. Nevertheless, at the bottom of the tool, you have a question and answer or a chat session. So please don't hesitate to put your remarks, your questions within there. Dirk and I will monitor them, and then we will try to answer them as soon as possible after the session within the question and answer section. For those who don't know me, I'm Manu de Witte. I'm account manager at Tech Data. And within the name of IBM and Tech Data, I welcome you to this call. For now, I would like to hand over to Yannis. Yannis, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So hi everybody, and thank you for joining Tech Data and myself for this session. That's indeed about IBM's automation strategy and the newly named Cloud Pack for business automation now. My name is Yannis Nakos indeed, and I'll be co-hosting this session today. We have a mass of information. It's pretty packed, the agenda today, but you'll get the deck anyways at the end of it, as well as the link to the recording. So I hope that will help you, and you will have, as we said, the chance to give your preferences, I would say, based on the topics that we will cover briefly today, in order to see it live into demos and decide actually what we will be demonstrating during the next session. So who am I for the ones joining me for the first time? As we said, that indeed lots of people are from abroad this time, so that's pretty cool. I'm quite along in IT. I'm about 30 years now in digital and automation arena. I started pretty early, and actually what's important maybe in my background is that before being but a sales guy, I really worked for about more than 20 years into delivery of services around digital and automation, starting with my own company. Then I took the lead for these kind of services and content management, process management at Xerox, Fujitsu, and CSC. I managed a company of 70 developers, internal and 20 externals at some point, about integration and security. So I'm really coming from the delivery and the technical side of things before joining a few years back in 2013 IBM, back in the days to manage the enterprise content management business, software business, and that evolved progressively the last 2-3 years in merging between content and process, which made sense because as part of content, we had workflows anyways for quite a while. And therefore, since start of this year, the digital business automation, as it was called, is now becoming something more focused as part of a broader umbrella of IBM automation. And that is a little bit what I will be explaining. So what is that IBM automation strategy about? As you can see it in the bullet points just here, the elements which are quite interesting is really it's AI centric, right? So what we've done the last few years, probably you know or you heard about Watson, which is actually the brand for cognitive technologies as part of the IBM's portfolio. We really infused AI and all these kind of technologies, I would say, as part of the different other brands that we had, meaning that we made it ready to use as part of the cloud packs strategy that we have. What are the cloud packs? Is that cloud only? No. Cloud packs are in fact platforms which are verticalized around a specific topic, and which are containerized. So actually, the name cloud is coming really from the fact that we are using cloud technologies, such as the containers, in order to package microservices which are ready to be installed extremely fast compared to what customers were doing in the past, which are elastic in the sense that they can scale extremely fast depending on the load, and which are ready, therefore, for being deployed in an hybrid cloud model, either on site, either at actually the public providers, the public cloud providers that you can find around. Another topic which is extremely strong in our development, the recent versions, is the low-code approach, meaning that we are rendering not only consumable AI, but also consumable components. So the idea is to get faster the result that you want without having to invest too much into development. And really in that topic, we are inverting, I would say, the Pareto rule the last few years, going from 80% of development to 20% configuration to the opposite, really trying now to reach 80% to 100% in some cases, really about configuration, and try to avoid as much as possible the pure play development topic. The platform is really ready to use and integrated to the outside world. So it's delivered with APIs and a stack in order to integrate extremely fast with the landscape of any customer around. Now, if you look a little bit on what are our motivations and what we try really to do the last few years, because for 20 years and more, IBM had content management tools, had workflow tools, had business rules. All these technical bricks, I would say, were pretty strong, but most of the time they were taking also deep technical knowledge in order to be assembled. And what we try here to do, and I think that is more relevant than ever, it's really to make it as responsive to change as possible. So we've seen in the last 12 months with the COVID crisis that, no matter how big you are, no matter how many millions you might make, no matter if you're a 100 years company like Hertz, you can really go and file for Chapter 11, get close, if not to bankruptcy. And I will not get into the story of every single one of these. That's part of the slides that you will get. But the point is, you can see that it's a mass of companies which went extremely down, extremely fast. Even a success story like a Belgian success story like Le Pain Quotidien, which was closed close to open its 100th shop in the US, went to close and shut down the operations in no time, just after 4 or 5 months in the COVID lockdown, actually. So you can really see that when your business model doesn't allow you to deliver your goods or services in another way, when you're not ready and resilient to a crisis, when digital actually was not part of your plans, it's no longer an option, actually. However, the ones which really worked on that, that we can call automation achievers, can definitely see the difference. I mean, we've done a study with 1,500 COOs, and as part of that study, what's demonstrated, and it's really a tough confidence from the CEOs and COOs who started, I would say, the last 2-3 years. Where they really see now the potential of the end of the crisis and a growth over the ones which are in pretty bad shape for the next 3 years at least. So that's definitely something which has a value, and where people should have thought of it. Now, if we look deeper into some segments such as industry, and there is a public study that McKinsey has done about industry. You can really see that there are some foundational elements which can help big corporations, big industrial companies accelerating, and which are key actually for their business from now on. And therefore, if you look at the human-machine interaction, that is exactly that, plus the connectivity and the elastic computational power. That's exactly what IBM has focused on the last few years. The acquisition of Red Hat was exactly to prepare this and to be ready actually for that ability to deliver applications, deliver systems in no time. If you look at the story around AI that IBM is investing in for about 50 years, you will definitely see as well that we are exactly in that analytics and intelligence space. So the only thing that we don't cover, I would say, nowadays on these topics is the advanced engineering part. But for whatever has to do with streamlining processes and getting quicker your job done in a better way by reducing the cost at the same time, so being more efficient, that's exactly what the Cloud Pack for Business Automation is about. Now, I will go a little bit faster on this one, but the point is, again, in the same study, you can find that there are some topics actually which are key to the CEOs and CXOs which have been interviewed. And there are some key elements coming back again and again. So if you look at digital maintenance, condition-based, if you look at machine learning, if you look at the digital twin actually story, where systems can learn and can really be the digital twin of some categories of people as part of your company, in order to play simulations and what if scenarios, and see actually how you can improve the operational side of your business. That's exactly where we are with the Cloud Pack for Business Automation. So all these topics are exactly, I would say, the sweet spot of where we invested the last few years. And one of the latest acquisitions we've done for this is our own robotic process automation story last summer. Now, most of the companies fall into the second category, I would say, and they are struggling to activate and operationalize, if you will, their digital strategies, and they have trouble scaling, in fact, the automation investment that they've already made the last few years. So why is that? There are specific elements, and one of them was the fact that AI was pretty costly to put in motion. That's one of the elements. The other element is that finding the different technical skills in order to put things into motion and deliver all these services combined into one meaningful, I would say, benefit at the end realized for a company is extremely difficult as well. So, and COVID accelerated that need, right? So out of a sudden, the best people went, or the most technical, I would say, around these topics have been absorbed extremely fast by the market. So what is left currently for the other ones? So the point is, when you look at it, piecemeal approaches don't work. Okay, the fact of saying, okay, I will try and we will see is something which doesn't work. The fact of trying to do new with old is difficult as well. So in order to be effective at the end responding to customers, you have to have the right insights, because at the end of the day, data, and people tend to forget it, but the basics and the foundation to accelerate your digital transformation and the automation around it is based on one single fuel, which is data. You don't have the data, you don't move on. And you have to have the right insights. So not only data, but cured, I would say, data. That's one of the elements as well. So to get access, in fact, to that high quality shared data, you have also to digitalize systems, right? In order for the systems themselves to feed your central repository of data, and therefore make sure that you have consistent and sufficient quality data in order to base your decisions and your automation upon. So that's a cycle at the end, which starts with the fact of having the right data in place, plus having systems in place extremely fast, which can feed that repository of data. So if you look at what Gartner is calling the top strategic technology trends, and they were similar, I would say, last year for 2020. Hyper automation, as they call it, is exactly what we cover with the Cloud Pack for business automation. The definition of it is here. So it's about dealing with the application of advanced technologies, including, and that are the three core ones that they see right away. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are together in order to automate processes and therefore augment humans. Augment humans doesn't mean that you replace them. What it means mostly is the fact that whatever can be done by a software, whatever can be done by a replica of a human behavior should be. Okay, that means that at some point you recover time in order for people which have the brain cells that they have to, and the experience actually that they've built, to focus on more value-added kind of processes, value-added kind of tasks. So whatever has to do with mundane tasks, whatever has to do with recurring tasks that you can easily automate, do it. And therefore, whatever has more complexity in order to be processed, that's where people are pretty good at. And guess what? That's what they want to do, because I think that around the call, we are now with about 30 people attending today. I'm sure that if I'm firing some poll, you would probably say that you prefer actually to make a difference at the end of the day rather than playing again and again the same buttons, right? So that's what the Cloud Pack for Business Automation is meant to do, and how it has been built. So what do you have as part of it? AI, machine learning, natural language processing. So all these cognitive elements that you require in order to have some living system which can learn and evolve actually with the complexity of your operations. Cognitive capture, meaning that we have a system in place which can capture events and data automatically without having to go through a complex setup up front, where business people really in no time can start delivering new capabilities. So it's really meant on being operated by business people and not technical people. Content management, workflow, decisions, so business rules, process mining, which is a nifty new addition to our stack since end of last year, robotic process automation, as I said, and all that wrapped up into a low-code set of services in order to accelerate the adoption of the platform, and no need to go to extremely costly resources which have 10 years of FileNet, 10 years of IBPM, 10 years of this and that, right? So the idea is really, how can I deliver the value of the technical bricks that we are cultivating and making evolve the last 20 years, but in 20 days rather than, or even 20 hours in some cases. So all that is containerized, ready for hybrid cloud, or delivered as part of a SaaS contract where it's IBM actually then operating the system for you, and then the customer can really focus on its own business. Now, if you look at the other Gartner top strategic technology trends, what's interesting is that when you look a little bit at these technical bricks here, and the way that we structured the architecture of them, we are covering really I would say most of the other ones, right? So what you will see is that the distributed cloud and the anywhere operations, that's exactly what we are covering here. In no time, we can deliver additional servers closer to the computing area, closer to the users, and a system which is actually being able to scale extremely fast, depending on the requirements, depending on the needs, depending on the usage. If you look at the privacy enhancing computing, if you look at the total experience strategy and all that, you will see as well that it's part of what we infuse. It's the infused benefits of using the platform, as well as the intelligent composable business at the back. We are serving that by having that API economy, I would say, as part of the platform, and being able to deliver connections and connectivity to new business types, new business applications extremely fast, and rendering actually all that through a consistent layer, one single interface for all these services, which can evolve extremely fast with low code, right? So if we look at the strategy that IBM has prepared and revamped, I would say, this year, which is now called IBM Automation Platform, you will see that we are sharing actually some common services, common ground across specific cloud packs. And the reason why the cloud pack for automation, as it was called the last 2 years, he's now revamped and renamed business automation, it's because it has its latest little sibling coming here, which is about network automation. And why is that? It's because at the end of the day, what we lived through and what was the requirement actually for our customers the last period was that it's fine to have nice applications. It's fine to be able to deliver them extremely fast. However, if your system in the back is error prone, if your system in the back can be is non-secure, I would say, enough, if in terms of managing your network operations you're not strong enough, and you cannot use there as well, I would say, the AI and the machine learning features that we have for the rest of the stack, then you can have the best applications. They will not scale. They will not be used because they will lag at the end of the day, et cetera, et cetera. So what we've done here, it's really as part of the IBM automation platform, focusing on one side, the business side of it. Okay, so the business experience and how to deliver business processes extremely fast, a new type of application in a modernized way. However, what we've done as well is making sure that from an integrability standpoint, from an API connectivity standpoint, we can really come and fit extremely fast in whatever the customer is running already. But we have now, since the end of last year, new features such as Watson AI Ops, in order to ensure that your IT infrastructure and architecture is extremely robust. The latest addition of an acquisition of Instana is exactly doing that. So in fact, if you look at what I will be presenting about the business automation services, you will find some pattern again, which is actually infused the same way into the network automation and the Watson AI Ops. And as you can see, all this is based on machine learning, is sharing the same Watson genetics, and AI is always there in order to accelerate the benefits of the different cloud packs. Now, because that's my church, if I focus a little bit on the business automation side of it, this is delivered, of course, based on the Red Hat acquisition and the Kubernetes layer of Red Hat, so Red Hat OpenShift. That is, I would say, the foundational application virtualization layer and orchestration layer, which makes all that possible. We have then the automation foundation, which goes across the different cloud packs for automation. And then we have some enhanced business-centric type of services, such as workflow and decisions, such as content management, which are specific to the workforce management, the customer experience, I would say, and the business operations side of the use cases, right? So this was valid, I would say, till today. Starting in a couple of weeks, that is what we will go after. So far we had one single cloud pack for automation with all the services together bundled in it. Now this goes for specificities for the business automation, and some we share some common ground and services with the other automation cloud packs as well, right? And if we look closer to what lies beneath, you will find some services which are the ones that I spoke about in the Gartner slide just before. So document processing, workflow, decision management, content services, operational intelligence. That is something which is extremely important for us, because that's more or less the event stream that we capture from all the other services. So whenever something happens, any tentative for activating a robot, or whatever the robot will be doing, any document that we will try to reach from a GDPR perspective, any document that we will search after or try to open at some point, or download or whatever, will be logged into this operational intelligence repository, which is built on open source technologies, and that's in fact the Elastic Stack, which lies beneath. So Elasticsearch, etc. Now, one common pattern that you will find in the different, specifically for the cloud pack for business automation, but that is again in AI ops as well. You will find it there as well. That's this simplified, I would say, pattern that we go after. It's about empowering companies, organizations to discover facts extremely fast, okay, decide upon them from I would say a left brain, from a logical standpoint, based on rules, in fact. Based on these decisions, act. So taking the decisions and acting, meaning also choosing about the best resource in an hybrid workforce world. That means, when do I activate a process? When do I activate a bot? When do I activate a human being? Because the system or the action is too complex to model into a specific bot, for instance. So that's where the balance is to make sure as well that we act in the fastest and in the most efficient way, right? Letting people focus on what they make sense again, and let systems do what they have to when they can. And therefore, capturing the data of what happened in the previous cycles in order to optimize and refine in an agile way, iteration per iteration, the full cycle, in order to make sure that you can start up discovering again, if that makes sense, or go for another process. Okay. Now, by doing that, we have studies demonstrating that we can really accelerate by a factor of 6 the turnaround time. There is an 80 or up to 80% reduction in manual processes, of course, because once the bot is there, even though it might change through time and evolve, still the fact of using high transactional processes, which are mostly happening through hands-on kind of activities, of course, that will reduce by far the manual rework and the work, and that can reduce by a high amount the complex work actually that is done manually. Now, in a more functional way, and that is most of the time, I would say, the slide that people like the most when they look at it, is because that's really what we've done. At the end of the day, our goal is not to replace people. Our goal is to make people more efficient. And how do we do that? We gathered through acquisitions, through partnerships, through developments the last few years, the last 20 years, I would say. We merged all together the senses of you, I, any people around or behind the screen. So what we've done is, let's say that if we take it in a logical sense, we are all gathering information through either ears, either eyes. Okay, there is some trigger at some point, and there is an event happening. Based on that, With cognitive data capture, we will be able to analyze what the relevant information is. So it's really about capturing the relevant data, and we will store it immediately to the memory, either for short term, either for long term. It's all depending on the policies that you set up. And at that time, you have information that you can process. How do you process it? Either we will use, again, cognition and machine learning, in fact, NLP, so natural language processing, in order to gather what's the sense, what is the meaning of the information. And based on that, we will be able as well to activate rules. So that's the left brain story, where now, based on low code, we can activate these decisions, write decisions, and say, okay, if that, then I do this. And it's in plain English, plain French, plain Dutch. The idea is really about being, again, as close as possible to any analyst profile, any business profile, right? So based on that, we have gathered the information, we have processed it. As we said previously, we need to do something with it, right? And that's where the central nervous system is playing. So we will be working with workflow, either adaptive case management when it's more complex kind of tasks, expert kind of tasks, or with BPM whenever we can schematize, I would say, making and streamline a process for a more transactional approach. Machine to machine, for instance. And depending on the type of workflows or the different steps that we can automate as much as possible, or if need be, by calling the hands of a robot, we will firing actually that automation and ensure that we keep people active as few as possible in order for them to focus on more complex tasks. Okay, so that's really what we do. Now, one of the elements that we just added through the acquisition of the WDG company that we acquired last summer here, it's and the choice we've done through about 30 companies which have been reviewed thoroughly about which one we would take for RPA. We took WDG for several reasons. One of them, it's because it was really the most advanced in terms of AI. So it was infused out of the box, exactly like we've done it with the other services of the platform, with AI capabilities. Machine learning was there, and we had text-to-speech, speech-to-text, chatbot capabilities, all that bundled into one single technology. So actually your bots can work unattended. They can work 24/7. They can process data. They can do whatever you ask them to do. But when the happy flow is no longer that happy, I would say, what happens then? So you have then to interact potentially with someone, or in traditional RPA, what you will do is you will fire an error and park, I would say, in a log this transaction, and someone will have to operate it the next day. Here, the idea is that you can have an interaction with your bot, and at some point that means that either you can fire a chatbot in the sequence and start asking for the best next action to the user, or what you can do as well is extend that interaction up to what Siri does nowadays, or Hello Google, or stuff like that. So it's really about having that conversational kind of assistant in play, where, again, in the same technology, I can, in a few lines of code, turn an unattended bot into a chatbot, and with two more lines into a voice bot, I would say, which can hear what I say. So there is text to speech and speech to text in both sides. Okay, so with all that, if we look at the more, I would say, applicational and persona-like kind of engagement, we are serving the ops management by having containers and all the different services here containerized. Okay, so we can scale extremely fast. We can deploy in less than an hour any of these services, and we can ensure that in a quarterly base, as we are delivering new capabilities, in no time overnight, your system can be updated and consume the new capabilities that we are delivering. So that's extremely important, because in traditional in traditional delivery of applications and in traditional software stacks, all ITers would try to push back, and they are right in this most of the time. They will try to push back as long as possible the fact of going for a new version, because that takes no full amount of time in terms of testing, in terms of deployment, in terms of retesting afterwards, etc., etc. Here, with a microservices story, and the fact that all these components are containerized, you can subscribe. So customers are subscribing to a catalog, and they can just decide either to go for what we call the long-term support version. So every now and then we have versions which are guaranteed for 2 years. Either they can just subscribe to the new flavor that we deliver 2 times a year at least, but most of these components have been delivered the last few years 4 times a year, and then benefit from all these features without having actually to retest everything, because that's all the beauty of working with containers, in fact. So if we look at the process and business analysts, that's really the personas that we are focusing on. Every single one of these capabilities have been deployed and is growing version after version for requiring less and less code, up to no code at all, and having the process or the business analyst doing the job, defining what the application should be, how the screens should react, and what the process should be, without having to write pure code in the back. Now, whenever we go for more complex kind of integration with existing systems, because the Cloud Pak for most cases will or might not suffice to itself, what we will be doing then is we will of course have to integrate with some other applications or custom code, and therefore for that we are delivering a consistent way as well to present the APIs and to make sure that the IT authors then can take over and deliver to the process analysts the services that they can consume in their no-code, low-code design tool, and therefore being able to connect to complex IT infrastructure without having to be a pure play developer themselves. So that's where the low-code story comes in. Which at the end delivers to the end user the specific requirements that they have, and which, depending on the usage that they will be doing of the platform, so a case manager, someone who's in an insurance company processing the claims, in fact, or any kind of agent into a call desk, will feed by his choices, by the scenario that he's following, intentionally or not, the operational intelligence, which then will gather data delivered again to the ops management people in order to tune their systems, make sure that they are ready in a dynamic way to deliver computing power when need be. But as well, this will serve the process owners with operational recommendations, for instance. So based on this kind of process, and because you are at this period of the year, and we are expecting that many cases to still be processed this week or this month, we would advise you to add 2 additional agents on these dossiers, on these cases, because else you might miss your deadline. So that's exactly what the operational intelligence here will start delivering by using data and accommodating it and serving it to AI machine learning type of algorithms. So I would say from here on, that's really what I wanted to cover today, in order for you to understand what are the type of services that we have as part of the platform. So again, capture external events, classifying them without having to go for a complex setup initially, and all that done by users. So you really business users. Augment the workforces or replace them for specific tasks or for preparing their job overnight for the next day, etc., by using robots. What we will do then as well is ensure that the workflows are orchestrated, and the different capabilities, in fact, are orchestrated all the way through. So at any point in time inside a process, I can just fire a bot. If the bot fails, if for some reason, I can then recover the context and send that back to a specific user, for instance, here, sorry, or I can just decide because a new type of information got in the dossier or the case to fire a specific instance of the capture engine in order to understand that this is an invoice, actually, the invoice that I was expecting, or the letter that I was expecting, or any type of document, and based on that, send then this information to the decision engine in order to orchestrate the next best task. Okay, so that's a little bit what we are delivering here. Now, that's another way, and more analytical way, I would say, to give some kind of use cases of the capabilities. That's really what we do with the different services. Hold that again into a cloud-ready kind of story. Now, for the business. The business partners of yours around the call, one of the elements which might be interesting is all these new features and capabilities which either just joined the team recently, either I would say expanded very fast in the last 6 months, and where honestly I really believe that that's for me blue ocean in order for you guys to get acquainted with these technologies, because there is a mass of opportunities. For instance, one of the most important elements for me which joined the team is the process mining part, and that's really for the last few minutes that we have, I would like to focus on that one because I really feel that that's a game changer as part of that platform that other competitors don't have actually as part of theirs. We've seen that. These are a few use cases, so it's just to say that at the end of the day, that's applicable, I would say, to any kind of process, any kind of vertical markets and organizations, of course. And one of the elements, if you feel like, okay, this might be interesting for you to see it live and go beyond just the nice chat of mine, we have developed as part of IBM last year a specific task force, which is orchestrating what we call MVPs. So as part of the agile methodology, MVPs are minimal viable products. What does that mean is that, yeah, in the past we were doing demos, we were doing POCs, proof of concepts, but that was not engaging the customer. And the difficulty with POCs is that you deliver, the customers were delivering just a scenario of that is what I want. And the how it was built after a few hours, days, or weeks, was completely escaping his reality. So if in India, one of our competitors was having 20 people working day and night on delivering a specific POC, that was extremely difficult to put in front of what we were doing actually over a few hours. So most of the time we were asking to get these scenarios on a Monday morning and to work together on their machines to make sure that everyone has the same time and the same capability demonstrated. However, very often it wasn't the case. So here, what we try to do with the MVP story is to really align a specific project. So it's really something we really bring, I would say, the story up to production. Is that a finalized product? No. But does that deliver value and does that pay for itself? For sure. And for once, why? Because we are investing on it. So, but the only thing that we ask also from the customer at that time is to make sure that they invest time. So the old story is we will not bring you something. We will bring you capabilities. We will come with whatever we have in stock to help you out delivering that first milestone in production, but we will do it together. So it's really a co-operation, a co-execution, a co-creation exercise at the end, where we need your time and we put ours together in order to make sure that at the end, depending on your expectations, the customer's expectations, depending on what you would expect, and also for you as a customer to ensure that in terms of maturity, actually, your organization is able to cope with these kind of technologies. We will invest for a few weeks, up to a few weeks, in order to make sure that you can see it live. For RPA, for instance, which is the low-hanging fruit most of the time, that's something that we demonstrate in 2 days. But if you really want to have the full stack being operating, or a few of these components together, such as the process engine, the orchestration engine, calling then for robots, which for themselves, in order to not have their logic inside the bot code, but rather into business parameters that the business can handle, then having that side of the equation in the hands of the business through the business rules engine, then of course that's a more complex setup, and therefore will take a few weeks, actually up to 2-3 months elapsed time, in order to make sure that we come up with the right MVP. So that's really an investment fund that we've built up on our own, and which is delivered with the support of the customer at his own environment. So we still have a few minutes. I'm pretty proud of myself, honestly, because usually we fight on what we'll be demonstrating or speaking of at the end. So here, one of the elements which is quite interesting, maybe for the ones of you who have followed already our strategy in the recent months, and would like to know what we are focusing on and where we put our bets on, actually. This is a little bit for the platform, the key battles that we are fighting for. So that is more or less in terms of roadmap, what we delivered end of last year. So as you can see, in terms of digitizing processes, we have invested into WDG, which is now called IBM RPA. All that infused with AI. But in order to define, because that's the pitfall, and as I said previously, and that's really what most of the time is extremely painful when starting a project, is that the reality that some people might depict about a process, if you put 10 people of the same role, right, into a room, and you ask them, please design me how you work, you will get 10 realities. And because I'm coming from that world, for 20 years I was delivering these kind of projects. It was extremely painful sometimes to have to say to people, look, we will really have now to work with you and monitor what you guys do for a couple of days, because at the end of the day, you come up with so different theories about how things should work and work, that we don't come close to any ability to deliver anything at the end. So here the idea is, designing a process, it's something that we can, we have tools and SaaS tools actually that we can provision extremely fast. So, you know, the agile approach of the post-its on the wall is something that we have a digital reality for, and that we can capture through workshops extremely fast, the ideas of people. So all that ideation exercise is captured extremely fast. However, it's still the interpretation of people, right? So that works if you have two business process owners into a room and you interview them. When you have 5, 10, it's more complex. However, what you would like is to get as close as possible to the reality. So how can you gather the reality, the facts? And that is by, in fact, analyzing what people really do, not what they say. And how do we do that? That's exactly where the process mining story is coming into play. Process mining can work in 2 ways. There are 2 types of engines on the market here. The one that we have embedded into our cloud pack is really delivering both sides of the story. We can plug into the logs of your current systems, ERP, CRM, whatever you use, custom applications, being it custom developments or COTS, so out of the shelf kind of systems. We will be able to come and plug into the logs, and the system with the embedded artificial intelligence that it has in the machine learning and the deep learning capabilities that it has, it will analyze system to system how a transaction has been built, when it happened to start onto this screen of this system, when it was taken over by that person with that role as part of the organization, et cetera, et cetera. And what it will do through that, by analyzing several iterations of a specific type of process, it will be able to design the reality of the process. So it's no longer about give me your interpretation and your fantasy about what should be the best. It's real about this is how I work now. And what are the pain points actually where am I losing and wasting money and time? That will be demonstrated through the design with a heat map, where it will show in red the different steps where you are losing money. Give the system an hourly cost, average hourly cost for a specific role, and out of a sudden you have the cost of your process as well as the cost of inefficiencies. And therefore, if you analyze, let's say 10 processes, you can therefore classify them by the amount of occurrences that they are happening, and calculate, the system will calculate for you then which makes sense to start with re-improving and re-engineering into a digital and automated way, in order to ensure that actually that the system pays for itself, right? So that's I mean, for me, that's probably the most beautiful add-on that we could hope for that pretty packed cloud pack already, and that's something that I really urge you to see, because it might seem like voodoo magic as long as you don't see it, but at the end of the day, when you see it live, it's something which is marvelous, because that makes the system monitoring into the way that people work and showing the efficiency that you bring by automating some key steps extremely visual, and you see it live with money back extremely fast as well. So the studio is where we've put lots of efforts. So that is the low-code designer tool for the business. So that is something that we delivered, and that we now add up into the catalog, the different technical bricks into as abstraction layers, in fact, low-code abstraction layers for content services, for decision services, et cetera. So all the services that you had in the different little boxes are now delivered, or in the way of being delivered shortly as low-code services being assembled through that studio, unique studio. Automation document processing, zero code. Okay, so you want to capture new type of informations. Your business is evolving, and now with the COVID, you have new type of documents to process every single day. This is working without having any developer around. So a business user can just declare a new type of document. It can say, look, these are the type of information from what you recovered, because the system will recover automatically what it believes makes sense. You will tell it, these are the required information that I need to capture. These are less important. This is how I want to structure my data. And based on that data, I want you to push these metadata back that you extracted back into the system in order to feed the process. And all that without any line of code. So again, I hope that through the poll that we will be activating in the next few minutes, the ADP, so automation document processing feature, and in other words, the cognitive capture element of that story will attract you, and you will ask for seeing it live in the next demo. So inject intelligence, as we said, AI is everywhere, so I will not go through every single one of these ones. However, sorry. What we are now working on, and that is probably what's the most interesting, automation platform synergy. So it's really about making sure that that cross platforms, that cross cloud packs story and services is rendered in an integrated way for every single one of the cloud packs. So that's one of the elements. The fact of using the data which is stored into the central data repository that we have, the data warehouse, in fact, that we have in Elasticsearch in the back, can be tackled through natural language queries. So that means, again, I'm not a developer. Don't ask me to be an Elasticsearch pro tomorrow. My goal is to get the outcome, the insights, not to become a data analyst. That is exactly what we are doing here. So based on natural language query, in my own language, I will be able to write statements that the system will recognize, and it will gather me the data that I will be able then very visually to assemble and to show in terms of drill down graphs. When I click here, I get a detailed view of that and etc. So the old story again is to make AI, which was extremely costly in the past, as consumable again as possible, and to get you the insights, so the substance, in fact, that you want from the data which is stored. What are we considering? So that is not binding yet, but that's really what we are focusing on. I mean, you will get the slides, so I will not go through all of these. But again, the low-code story about workflow and delivering all the services into low-code. Decision content is there. Workflow started. We will evolve even more into the workflow story as part of the low-code studio. What else? Process mining, of course, now delivered with more verticalized type of templates. So out of the box templates for robots that you can instantiate extremely fast. What else? What was worth still saying? Yeah, so the real-time learning is something which will play also a pretty big role coming next. So the fact of being able to detect operational situations before they happen. So crisis inside a crisis world before it happens, so you can make sure that you put your attention where it should be, and you can reshuffle it, the resources that you have, again, being it bots or being it human beings, right? So that's the kind of stories, again, where we will be using even more the potential of the data that we have in conjunction with AI. So in terms of schedule, and I will close it here. That is what we delivered in terms of new capabilities. So our own RPA, the low-code capabilities inside now the studio, as delivering one single services catalog where I can just plug new capabilities whenever I want. And one of the elements which is of course extremely interesting here is that you pay. It's really pay per use. So the old story with the different components that we have is that you just activate these licenses if you need them. If you have already an RPA technology, fine. Let's come and integrate it. We have connectors to the big players like I would say, yeah, the biggest 3 or 4 that everyone plays with nowadays. But on the other side, if you feel like, yeah, for decision management and to gather the data or the logical part, the logical statements and the parameters of that logic out of my bot, so I don't have to get a developer or an RPA developer again and again changing conditional statements and parameters. Let's put them here. I mean, that is one of the best use cases that we have with augmenting the value of bots, by having that if then else kind of story and nested if then else into the workflow engine or inside the decision engine, right? So there we are. That's another view, but for the same story, and that is a summary at the end of what we delivered. So I would say, if you will, I would like to go to the poll. I still have a few slides where, for the ones having still 5-10 minutes, I might go very quickly through some screenshots of the different engines that we've added, such as the process mining story, such as the low-code tools, so we can have a flavor, I would say, of how things are rendered on screen, and maybe that might help you as well, ensuring that, okay, that's really what you want to see next. But from what we said so far, and from the different capabilities that I mentioned, I would say these are probably the ones that are the most interesting, right? So if in the chat you could give your up to three, not necessarily 3, but up to 3 max favorite topics, we will take them into account. And the idea is to go from the most interesting for you. So if you say, okay, process mining is really what I want to see because that's the only thing I don't have in my toolbox, fine. So you put process mining first or alone, and maybe you can add up cognitive capture, low code, whatever. So I will give you a few seconds or up to a minute maybe to just type into the chat what you
All
think.
right, guys. In the meantime, we have some questions. Perhaps while people are filling in the poll, we can look at the questions.
Yeah, of course.
So one of the questions is, or several questions, is mainly about the number one trend of the hyper automation. And there we have the question, is a hyper automation going to suggest automation, or is the human evaluation being made redundant? And in that case, how is it controlled afterwards? That's a bit, well, if you can give your view on that.
Okay. Well, again, I'm not claiming to be a futurist, right? However, I'm in that game for quite a while, and I see also what we are doing and what the competition or other players actually do, or partners even. So what I must say is that we've seen in the last 2-3 years the complexity of setting up AI and getting the return on investment of AI, because it's all about models. You need to have, for AI to work, you need to have two things. You need to have the fuel, the data, relevant data, because any new data that you type into the repository, which is irrelevant, makes your model less relevant as well. On the other side, you need to have the right model, and that means you need to have data analysts, data scientists in the back, tuning the parameters to be taken into account. And of course, machine learning is there to evolve, but the thing is, if you really want to use the expertise of people understanding a specific topic and having their expertise being modeled and reused in order to evolve faster your model, that means that you need to have some development being done onto these models by data scientists. So at the end of the day, to make things relevant, I would say there is a kind of ramp up phase where you cannot expect a system to take decisions by itself. In any case, decisions in our engine are modeled by people. So what you can say at some point is giving a scoring card and saying, okay, this is the prevalence of one rule against another. These are the type of parameters, and if this, then I would like that, and if that, I would like this. But the thing is, at the end of the day, there is a control which is still in the hands of a human being, and it's not a beast just learning for itself and doing whatever it wants. So everything is managed, and at any point in time, you can get back because, as I said, every single rule which is played, every single AI result which is going out of a machine learning model is monitored and can be replayed. So you can, at any point in time, by pushing into the same funnel of activities, by pushing the same data, you can replay exactly why you got this outcome and refine the model. So the idea is we don't just create, again, a beast which will do whatever it wants. It's what we try to do is mostly activating artificial intelligence for very specific topics where we think that it can really replace and streamline the logic of a human being, making sure that every single one you come up with these type of parameters, these assembly of parameters, you get a consistent outcome, which nowadays it's exactly the opposite. You ask two people to take the same, to take a predefined set of decisions along the way into a process based on their own experience, you will get different iterations every single time. So here it's really about, what do you want to streamline? Where inside that process do you want to give the hand back to a human being, because that's too touchy for a system to take the hand on? And where do you think it doesn't make sense and you want the process or the bot to carry along? So that's where I was saying that if one fits all, we wouldn't have that platform. The goal of that platform is we have several capabilities, it's Lego blocks, and you assemble them depending on the very specificity of the process that you want to model.
Yeah, and related to that, to the hyper automation, and as you mentioned, okay, it's not one fits all, but do you have nevertheless some, perhaps out of your own experience, some use cases, some ideas of where it best fits, and on the other hand, where it doesn't fit?
Okay, I'll give you an example with the latest cognitive engine, capture engine that we have. Okay, so we trained and we deliver the system out of the box with deep learning. So it goes way beyond what machine learning does. We trained it with a specific model for a specific type of document. So out of the box, you get some templates, and the system understands like a 15 years old would understand when I'm explaining to him or her what are the concepts of a company, of the amounts which fits into a table, of VAT, etc., etc. The system will understand all that. Okay, it understands the concepts, and therefore it will be able to find them no matter where they are located on the page, and it will extract these concepts as value pairs. So name of the company is this, date of the invoice is that, date of delivery is this, amount, total amount to be paid is that, etc., etc. So the system has been trained, and out of the box, it can start understanding what an invoice is. Whenever, first it can recognize it. So it can say this is for sure at 99% an invoice. And from that statement on, based on this, it knows what the concepts that it needs to find into this document are. And you can tell it, okay, for processing an invoice and sending it for payment, what I need is to gather all this data. And I need to make sure that the level of confidence that I have recognized is beyond this amount. If it's below this amount, fire the information which is not sure on screen and let someone make the choice for you. So that's where you find that equilibrium, I would say, between this concept of a hybrid workforce, where the system, whenever it's sure enough, and for the specific task that you trained it for, it can do the job, it will do it. Whenever you're not sure enough, and you feel like, okay, of course, I would not send an invoice of 100K to be paid, or 10K, or even 1K for payment without making sure that all these informations are right, then I will fire a screen where people can make the difference and where they can play their role. But if that is for 20% of the cases and 80% can be processed automatically, the return on investment is like a few hours. So does that really make sense to have someone opening the emails into a functional box, a functional mailbox, reviewing all the data, typing in all that information manually, copy and pasting it into SAP? I don't think so. Okay, so that's where the model really makes sense to use the AI technologies. And when the AI technology is not evolved enough or hasn't evolved enough yet, then you give the hand back for what is left, but only for what is left to a user.
Okay, thank you. And then we have a question, but I think you already highlighted it for the different type of people interacting within the whole process. But there's the question, somebody's wondering about the level of efforts that is needed for making, let's say, the shift from a legacy system towards, well, let's say then the IBM Cloud Pak for business automation.
Honestly, the best answer I can give you, and it's not as a sales, it's really as a technical guy behind these challenges. That's exactly why we've done the MVP. Because if I'm taking back this slide where we have the different capabilities, if we come down to the conclusion that a bot can do the job, and it's really about, I don't know, processing, as I said previously, the data from the recognition engine to a specific ERP, and I need to do copy and paste at the end of the day of the data, and do what we call as well integration through the screen. So I will not go and plug my system into an API because that's maybe, I don't know, a legacy system. And therefore I might not have APIs at all. In fact, the only thing I have is some Ember screens from 30 years old. Then RPA is fantastic, and honestly, the return on investment can be delivered in like a week or two. So in 3 days, you will have an operational model which works. You will put it to the test for 3-4 days in order to see the pitfalls that might happen on the screen, and that the system cannot be resilient enough to face, like pop-ups or changes of buttons into a specific version or of latest patch of SAP, etc., etc. And therefore, when this is tackled and ready for production, you will just deploy it in just in a few days, and it will start paying for itself. So is that complex? No. And honestly, RPA into legacy applications, that's a sweet spot. It doesn't cost, I mean, the license is about less than 1,000 euros a month. At IBM, honestly, I don't remember anything costing less than that, or honestly anything close to that. So the meeting that we just spent together is probably costing more than that now. So the point is really, we should speak about what do you want to do, and based on that, choose together what makes sense in terms of these Lego blocks, and showing you in a few days, in a few hours, in a few weeks max, how it's working, and doing it together. So it's no magic voodoo. Test us. We come. We speak about what you want to do, and we will suggest, okay, for this first iteration and MVP, let's do it like that, and you will do it. We will coach you, but you do it.
Yeah, then I would suggest indeed the business partners who are in the call, please have a look again at that MVP program. It's really related to the IBM ecosystem. Make use of it for sure. It is again an evidence of the strategy IBM is taking towards really investing into that ecosystem.
Exactly.
And then I have, Yannis, a more, let's say, feature function question. Mm-hmm. Is the question that is it Elasticsearch and Kibana or something like Power BI? Is that part of the platform?
Yes, sir. So as part of the operational intelligence that we have here, that's indeed Kibana that we use for rendering the nice screens, I would say, and all the data, the pie charts, etc., that we are now operationalizing and even I would say expanding in order to make sure that business users can really go for drill downs. So not only rendering nice widgets, but also making them dynamic. So depending on what you click, it will create, in fact, in the back, it will translate that to a different query without you to have to type anything. So the whole idea is to use these paradigms to the max, and making sure that we use these open source technologies to the best. So any customer nowadays having already Kibana and the Elasticsearch stack, or the Elastic Stack overall being deployed, we serve actually streams of data to these, or we can, for customers who don't have it yet, we will be delivering the stack as part of it. Of course, this is, I mean, the operational intelligence. It's not something that everybody asks. For me, it's key, because that's where you really deliver. As I said previously, that's where you capture the fuel for automation. But at the end of the day, for customers not wanting it, it's not part of the Lego blocks that we will push first. We can start delivering the value of automating and digitalizing a process, and a long time at some point proving the value of the operational intelligence. And that's the reason, just to close that point, that's the reason why it's infused and delivered as part of the workflow capability. So whenever you come to play with BAW, business automation workflow, so that capability, that Lego block here, you get the Elasticsearch integration that we call BAI, Business Automation Insights, as part of that license. So workflow, you get it right away. You can prove it, you can test it, you can see how it does. Whenever you start activating additional services, such as the bots, such as the decision engine, that will be some licenses that you need to come and add up in order to maintain that connectivity.
Okay, great. Thank you. I don't see any questions pending at this point of time. If you would still have questions, please put them in. If you don't have yet filled in the poll, please do also. But in the meantime, Yannis, I would like to thank you very much for, again, a great and presentation full of passion. It showed again your dedication. It gives a great overview of the evolution, what has changed, what has been added. I think the fact that we had this interaction with people attending, thank you very much, people, for filling in the poll, shows again that it was a very good, very interesting presentation. As mentioned, for all people attending, we will send you the link with the recording so that you can replay it, but you can of course share it with your colleagues or interested people. Slides will be made available as well. So for the time being, would like to thank everybody. Would like to thank Yanis again, and talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.